Hello everybody and welcome to Premier Sim Gaming League's YouTube channel. It is the turn of a PSF4 league here, and what you are seeing on your screen at the moment are the qualifying results. Just keep your scroll all the way down to the bottom. I haven't got too long to really round up what's happened in qualifying. As you may have gathered by the fact that this is not live, I have had some big stream issues tonight and have been unable to get the stream to go live due to issues completely out of my control. So I figured this was the next best alternative. You still get live commentary, it just won't be as a live stream. So we have missed pretty much all of qualifying. You can see their latest has grabbed pole position by over 2/10. So a good lap time there from the Mercedes driver. We'll of course have a close look at the grid as we go into this. And conditions may be looking slightly more overcast for the race than what they were in qualifying. But yes, good evening everybody, or morning, or afternoon, whenever you're watching this. And we are at round 2 for the F4 tier at Circuit Paul Ricard in Le Castellet. The 3.6 mile track. You got 15 turns, 6 to the left, 9 to the right. And lap record set in 2019 by Sebastian Vettel on a 132.7. That's of course in real life. But yeah, we've got latest on the front row for this one. Taking pole position, a very, very good pole position. To get pole by over 2/10 is such a closely contested tier. Takes some doing. Let's have a quick recap on what happened last week. Of course, the season opener at Bahrain, which was live, and I was hoping, of course, this would be live as well, but not to be, sadly. It was Trinity who took advantage of a safety car, or sorry, virtual safety car rather, and showed some excellent pace to grab the win and the fastest lap ahead of Dawidek, who was superb throughout both sessions, really took pole position and nearly held on to win the race. And then the final podium position went to Symbolix in Williams. Your other point scorers were Rudy in 4th, latest DV, Gustav, Philip, Tiramisu, and Ron M. We've got a full grid of 20 drivers tonight, which just adds to the annoyance from my side, of course, that we can't live stream this, because it would have been an excellent race to watch, and I hope nevertheless it's still going to be an excellent race for you guys to watch. Just obviously not in the traditional sense of things. So there's the starting tyres. Of course, we had a dry qualifying session, so all the top 10 are locked into the tyres that they qualified on. A very big variance of strategies outside the top 10 though. We got Trinity in 11th, who's starting on the hards, and then the 3 drivers behind him on the softs. You then got Zarai and Tiramisu on the mediums. You got more hard tyre runners with Cohen, Koala, and Darragh, and then right at the back you've got oh dear me, I was not looking forward to having to try and say this name. KJXLL, I'm going to go with that because there's no way I can try and pronounce what it actually says on the mediums. So yeah, real variance of strategies there for those that could select their tyres outside top 10. You got 3 soft tyre starters, 3 medium tyre starters, and 4 hard tyre starters. So real variance in strategy. In terms of strategy around here, this is one of those circuits where the tyres get eaten up quite substantially. A one-stop is possible, particularly for those guys outside the top 10, who of course get the advantage of fresh tyres. But for those inside the top 10, it still could be done, but you really have to look after your tyres, and I suspect we will see some guys go for a 2-stop strategy, particularly if we get any safety cars over the course of the 27 laps that we've got in front of us. So we're getting now to the end of the outlap then, and just seen latest lead them away on the grid. So yeah, you got Toxic Tomato in 2nd, Dawidek, who took pole last week, in 3rd. You got Ron M in 4th, Noof in 5th, Slimbo in 6th. Both Aston Martins qualifying inside the top 6, not bad for them. And then of course you've got to go all the way down to KGXLL at the back of the grid. But we've got a full grid, a full complement of 20 starters, and for this rather unusual F4 commentary, we're about to get underway. So here we go then. The lights beginning to go out in front of us. That's a really bad angle of them, but when they go out, we'll be underway in F4. And it's lights out, and away we go. Latest gets off the line excellently. Toxic Tomato didn't get quite as good of a launch, and he's going to come under pressure from Ron M, who's going right around the outside. He started 4th on the grid, but already Ron M is up into 2nd place. Toxic Tomato 3rd. Dewedek's had a poor start. We got Spinner. That looks like it's Rudy in the AlphaTauri who's gone round at turn 1. But it's still Latest that leads away. Ron M in 2nd. Toxic Tomato 3rd. Noof in 4th. Ares 5th. Dewedek had a shocking start, down 3 places to 6th. But it's his teammate who's arguably had an even more damaging start, down towards the back after that spin. Hopefully he's avoided damage. We've got a yellow flag in sector 2. It's like Tiramisu has had an issue there. And so a few drivers there coming a cropper on this opening lap as we go down towards the end of a Mistral straight, and it's still Latest leading the way, with Noof looking quite menacing behind Toxic Tomato for 3rd place at the moment. But there you go, they're all lying astern there. The exception of Rudy and Tiramisu, they've all got away unharmed so far. But inevitably there was a little bit of contact through the field. You can see they're massive. Looks like a bit of an oversteer moment there for the race leader through that quite difficult turn 11. And now we're coming down towards the final few corners of this track, and of course no DRS enabled just yet, so any overtakes you're going to have to sort of be a bit creative about it. We know DRS active as yet, as Darragh has gone round as well. We've got an issue there for Darragh, so he drops to the back on his hard tyres, but he started on, and it is Latest that leads away. Great start. His launch away from pole position was absolutely superb. Ron M in 2nd, and he also had a fantastic start from 4th on the grid to gain those 2 places. Darragh is having a few issues, it looks like, towards the rear of the field. And let's go on board then with Dewedek, actually, who's looking pretty close to the back of Ares. Ares, another driver that got up a line pretty nicely in the Alfa Romeo car. And now onto the Mistral straight we go. If anything, actually, it looks like DV might be in a spot to overtake Dewedek here. But of course, without the use of DRS, it's going to be a little bit tricky in these opening stages. And of course, you can already see the effect the DRS train is being created. Yellow flag in sector 2. What's that all about? That's more issues for Darragh. And he, as well as he crashed out, as he let's hope so, because he shouldn't have been retiring on track. But either way, Darragh is out of the race, and his nightmare opening couple of laps kind of just come to a premature end there, and he's left the session. So a lot of frustration inside that Ferrari cockpit as his race comes to an end. We're down to 19 runners here, and what's happened there? We've got Gustav recovering from a spin there. Looks like around turn 12, and Gustav has lost several positions. He was running inside the top 10. He now drops to 17th place. So Gustav, disaster for him, while his teammates leading the way. He has had some issues there in the other Mercedes. And he's got away with that damage, but he's lost out on a lot of track position, and that will be key, particularly as he's one of the guys who had to start on the soft tyres that he qualified on. So issues there indeed. Ron M just edging the fastest lap away from Latest, suggesting here that the Aston Martin might start putting the race leader under some pressure here. With DRS enabled, we've already got our first track extension penalty, or corner cutting penalty of the race. And that goes to Shender, and I think Ares has got one as well. So, you know, with how much runoff you've got around here, it does kind of promote you to take more creative lines sometimes than you perhaps would do at tracks where there's more grass and gravel. But of course, the flip side of that is that you are more prone to receiving penalties, so expect penalties to be a big theme of this race as it develops. Still Latest leading the way, of course. Now he's going to be the cork in the bottle in the fact that he doesn't have DRS, whereas nearly everyone behind him will do. We go further down towards Dewedek, and it looks to me like Shender and Martine are just beginning to get a bit cut adrift for this leading sort of train of cars. So that's going to be a big blow for them. And we've got Gustav, who was out of the race. Looks like he's had a crash out of turn 11, I would want to say it is. Will's exit of turn 11, and that's our second retirement already. So disaster for Gustav. And he scored points in the opening round at Bahrain. He will not be following that up here, though. That's for sure. As Slimbo and Martine battle up to turn 1. It looks like Slimbo's got that move done. Martine, I mentioned, just struggling for pace at the moment compared to some of the guys around him. And Slimbo is the first driver to take advantage of that, and you can already see Martin will come under threat now from his teammate Simbalix, who of course got a podium last time out at Bahrain. And he'll be looking to follow that up here, so maybe some Williams team orders could come into play here. And Latest gets super close. Ron gets super close to Latest under braking there at the end of a Mistral straight, but not close enough to force a move just yet. Maybe he doesn't want to take the lead at the moment, because being the one driver that has to cope without DRS is a real bitter blow to have around here. As we've got the move between Simbalix and Martin. Are they gonna keep battling for it though? There's no team orders in play at Williams, and it looks like, oh, looking at Martin might lose another position to Zorai, who is in turn going to try and force a move on Simbalix. He can't do so. Martin coming back at the Haas car. Oh, you can see the rear end just snapping out on Zorai there. Oh, and he nearly came together with Trinity in the process. Trinity just manages to avoid him. Zorai's attempt to gain a position on the Williams nearly went horribly wrong, and they're going side by side now to the final corner as him and KJXLL do battle, and Zorai loses yet another place down to P14. So while looking like he was trying to get P11, he's ended up actually losing out on 2 spots. Not the lap that he would have wanted there at all in Haas. Back to the front then. Still Latest leading the way. Ron M, Toxic Tomato, Noof, Ares just threatening to fall out of that 1 second window to Noof in front of him, and that's all important, especially when he's got Dewedek in front of him. Be interesting to see actually, has he got the DRS? I don't think he has, you know. I don't think Ares got the DRS, and that's going to put him under significant pressure here at the end of a Mistral straight, but he's just got enough space to hold on to it. He's going to have to try and steer that 1 second window. Simbalix on the move once again around the outside of turns 8 and 9 to move past Slimbo up into P9. And Dewedek is taking advantage against Ares. Not the place, maybe saved a bit more ERS to use on that straight and gets the place. Dewedek up into 5th place then. Super move from him, and just what he needed to do with the top 4 just threatening to pull that little bit of a gap out in front. And we're interested to see what he can do now that he's at the lead of what has become the second sort of trainer cars, if you like. We are approaching the end of lap 5 here, and of course the soft tyres don't last that long when you qualified on them, so expect to see pit stops probably in the next 2 to 3 laps. We're getting towards that sort of window now of the race. If you're wanting to do a 2-stopper, you'd probably start thinking about pitting now. So it'd be interesting to see the Rudy's come into the pits, for instance. He might be going a bit more aggressive on the strategy. We'll interested to see what tyres he puts on there. As we've got DV now threatening to move past Ares. But remember, Rudy goes for hards, so might be looking to do a longer hard tyre stint perhaps. Just battle then at Ares, and Dewedek has gained enough time to make sure that he keeps the DRS as he tries to sort of help catch these guys back up to the trainer cars. Toxic Tomato there looks like he didn't have a particularly great exit here, and he could come under threat from Noof as a result of that, but I think he's going to be just okay. The corner will come just in time for the Red Bull driver, saving him from attack. But Noof looking pretty threatening at this stage of the race, it has to be said. And the 2 drivers that really impressed last week, got Dewedek currently in 5th, Trinity down in 12th, although he's the best hard tyre runner at the moment. But you have to say, it's not really going to plan for these guys as they look to back up their results from last week. We're going to see any drivers considering pitting just yet. Doesn't look like it. Simbalix has got a penalty now. Oh, we have actually got a car in the pits, I think. No, it's DV looking to make a move on Ares, but he just gets the exit of a final corner, turn 15 wrong. He's going to duck back into the slipstream in an attempt to get past him. Both got the DRS, but DV going for the inside line up to the first chicane, and looks like he's got the move done. DV takes the place. Can Ares fight back, I wonder? As we go up towards the right-hander, nope. DV's got the move done. Ares just slightly struggling for pace here. We've got yellow flag in sector 1 because Zorai there onto the red markings of the rumble strips on the outside, and he's lost out hugely there due to that mistake. We've got a change for the race lead. Apologies for not noticing that, but Ron M has taken the race lead from Latest that happened before, but well, once it happened on the Mistral straight, it was like it may have happened prior to that. Two drivers who did score points last week, even if it wasn't the headline sort of grabbing points. But it's Ron M who now leads the way in this French Grand Prix. And yeah, the top 5 guys are now starting to pull away. DV's trying desperately to get within that 1 second window. It has to be said that Ares just hasn't had the pace to keep up with these sort of front-running guys, and he's just started to drift away. And we've got some pit stops here. Toxic Tomato, Dewedek and Ares all coming into the pits to make early pit stops then at the end of lap 7. And based on the strategy that I'm aware of, this will see them go onto the hard compound tyre, you would imagine. Let's have a look. Yep, looks like they're all switching onto a new set of hards, and that the plan now will be to get to the end of a race on those, so we'll see how that develops. But it has to be said, Ron M, he might have got past Latest, but he's not dropping the Mercedes driver, and it could be a chance here for Latest to come back at Ron M with a bit more ERS to play with. We've got a yellow flag in Sector 3. That looks like it's an Zarai who's retired in the pits. But here we go, and for the race lead, it is Latest down the inside, and nothing that Ron M could do. Just too much of an advantage with the DRS and the slipstream, and Latest retakes the lead. I don't think Ron M will be too worried about that right now, and it'll be interesting to see how these guys respond to some of those that have gone for the undercut. One interesting thing has happened during the pit stop phase, which I've just noticed as well, Dewedek has actually got past Toxic Tomato. So a little bit of a surprise there, because essentially Toxic Tomato was running 3rd and Dewedek was running 5th, so that's worked out beautifully for the AlphaTauri driver, and getting ahead of a Red Bull. And Toxic Tomato might be a little bit fuming after that one as Latest pits, but interestingly Ron M and Noof both stay out, so Latest responds to that undercut, but these two drivers want to stay out for another lap or two, maybe get some fresher tyres for later on. DV also stays out then. Edex, see where he rejoins in relation to these guys, where he joins in relation to Latest, sorry, because of course he was right there with him in the same group of cars. Has the undercut worked out to his benefit? Latest should be coming out the pits any second now. There he is, you can see him, but this worked out beautifully for JR Latest. He hasn't been a victim of the undercut, and he stayed in front. So that's worked out really nicely indeed for Latest. He'll be very happy with that one. And now to go back to the leaders, because Noof has just quietly gone about his business, and he's now right up to the back of Ron M. So we'll see if he can potentially spring a move. I suspect we'll see both these guys coming into the pits at the end of this lap. There's not going to be too much life left in that soft rubber now. Further down, we've got Symbolix looking like he's made a move on Shender. Symbolix is just quietly, another one who's quietly just making his way through the field. Him and Slimbo together, just making up some pretty solid ground right now. They did start on the soft tyres, but of course they were, I believe they were fresh soft tyres compared to the guys outside the top 10. And yeah, indeed, Rod M and Noof both into the pits then. As do Symbolix, not Slimbo though, so this is the one to keep an eye on here. Let's look at Latest then. See where he rejoins. And that's the thing, Ron M and Noof have stayed out a bit longer, so they can opt for a set of medium tyres and try and get those to the end. Interesting strategy here that's developing, and yeah, just staying out that little bit longer, and they believe they can now get the mediums to the end. They'll have lost out track position wise to Latest. Will they have lost out though to the cars behind? Doesn't look like it. It looks like Ron M has kept second place. Dewedek, it's Noof that loses out actually, because he's rejoined behind Dewedek and Toxic Tomato, so he's probably the main one that's lost out there. But for Ron M, that's worked out pretty beautifully. He's exactly where he was before, on arguably a set of tyres that should be quicker now. We're going to keep an eye on Noof here, because he will want to get past Toxic Tomato quickly. And look at the difference in the exit he got there, and that's just going to be a simple move. I don't think there's much Toxic Tomato can do about that. And indeed, Noof takes P11 Of course, P11 provisionally on the road. You've got several drivers in front that have yet to make their opening stops of the race. But this is essentially the leading group of cars that Latus is leading around at the moment. Now let's have a look at the penalty situation. I've seen Schender's name come up a few times. Yeah, 9 seconds of penalties for Schender now. That's not going to be good for him. De Wiedek's got 3 seconds. That could be crucial. Erez with 6 seconds. De Wiedek's the only one really out of that main leading group, and Erez, of course, that have got penalties. So that's going to be all important as this race unfolds. DV and Slimbo are into the pits. Of course, they started on soft tyres. Will now switch over to medium tyres, I believe. Indeed, they will. So they might be ones to look out for, depending on what their pace is like on the mediums. You can already see with Noof, he's right up to the back of De Wiedek, trying to make use of that medium tyre rubber. And another one is Ron M, who'll be looking to try and get that lead back from Latus. Of course, these medium tyres estimate to only last around 14 laps, so you know, these guys that are on them now, they are going to pay the price for them later on, so they need to make hay now, while the medium tyre is a better tyre to be on. Perhaps in the final few laps we might see some of the hard tyre runners come back at them, and you can see in the background there Noof making his way past De Wiedek, taking the place back, and he's going to be really on the charge. You can see since he put those medium tyres on, he looks super quick. One problem that these guys might have is that they are starting to close in on these group of cars like Tiramisu, Cohen, who have yet to stop. I saw a penalty flash up there for DV. That's not good for him. He's got Simbalix just behind him at the moment. So that's how this stands then, coming up to the start of lap 12. And you can see really Latus is a provisional race leader at the moment, but so many cars right there with him. It's going to be interesting to see how this race unfolds, but look at Noof's pace. He is super quick right now. He's going to take some stock in his last season's F4 champ in this race, because he has got a bit between his teeth right now as De Wiedek and Schender pick up more penalties to add to their woes. Their race is just starting to unravel at the moment. As I suggested earlier, penalties are going to be a key feature of this race, as we see another one flash up there for Tiramisu. Apologies about that. We are back now, and Ron M has taken the provisional race lead away from Latus. Noof right there as well. Ron probably felt like he really needed to get on with that, with the pace that Noof was travelling. Now, he didn't want to. And what's happened there? We've got a problem for Latus. Latus has gone. Was there contact between him and Noof? I suspect them very well might have been. Noof attempting to follow Ron through, and it's Latus that has come off the worst. He'll be gutted. He'll felt like he's done nothing wrong up to this point, but he's lost out several positions. Is now at the prey of some more medium tyre runners in DV and Simbalix. So Latus really thrown out of contention now. I didn't get a best angle of that one, so really hard to say what happened, but all we can say for sure is that it has pretty much ruined Latus's race. This is a battle now to keep an eye on, because although they're both on the same compound of tyres, there's no question in my mind Noof is the quicker driver right now. He looks so happy on those medium tyres. Yellow flag in sector 1. Looks like Slimbo and Schender perhaps have come together. So that's an issue further down the field. But I want to keep an eye on Noof here. But they're catching up now to Cohen and Tiramisu in front. So this is where some issues may start unfolding for his leading group. Of course, the Ron M helped out by the fact that he also had DRS thanks to Cohen. Just to clarify, that is not the Cohen that competed in F3 last season. But I had the pleasure of commentating on. That's a different Cohen, so he's one of the reserves for this league in the Alpine tonight, and you can see here the extra pace that Ron and Noof have got, but it's difficult to know what to do with it at the moment because this isn't really a part of the track that's known for its overtaking. So Ron and Noof just got to be a little bit more patient here. And you can see we're coming back onto a pit straight then, and it looks like it's a great run out the corner for Ron on Cohen. Not much Cohen can do about it. This isn't really his fight, to be honest. He will still fight it off, and look at that, Ron M tried to take 2 positions at one go. That's a brave thing to do. He's trying to get Tiramisu on the exit curb. This is absolutely insane. Cohen looking to rejoin the battle as well. Wow, indeed. Ron M's, and look at that, Noof now taking advantage as well, and Dawidek on the inside of Cohen. Cohen losing several places here, and this is getting absolutely crazy. Shender retires on the exit turn 1. It looks like he's crashed, and we got a full safety car. So just past the midway point of the race, it looks like Shender's gone into the wall. He had so many penalties, he would have struggled to score points from there. And the safety car is out, and that brings an end to what was a super battle between these guys. So now in the safety car conditions, we can take a little breather. The guys are still a long way away from the safety car, so it's going to take them a while to catch up. And for these guys that haven't pitted, this is a perfect opportunity to get into the pits and sort of get rid of the tyres that you're on. Although, to be honest with you, that benefits the hard tyre guys more than the medium tyre guys, because ideally you're probably going to want to go for mediums at this point. But that doesn't really work out for those that started on them. So really it's Koala and Trinity, and even Cohen that'll be quite happy with his safety car. It'll be interesting to see what KJXLL do. But here we go then, all the guys coming into the pits then, so other guys, so Ron pits, but I'm not sure Noof has stayed out by the looks of it. Noof quite happy on the tyres on. Dawidek continues, so Ron, I'm a little bit surprised at Ron there, but he's pitted. He essentially had the race lead. But he's decided he doesn't want those tyres anymore. He's switching to a new set of mediums. But you can see there, he's now going to be in P9, whereas he would have been P1. Interesting strategy. We'll see if he can make it work out for him. KJXLL and Tiramisu are going, and Latus onto soft tyres. They're going to struggle to make the end on those, potentially. Although it depends how long the safety car stays out, of course. But they'll definitely be struggling towards the final few laps. But Noof leads the way then. Dawidek, Toxic Tomato. We've got DV in 4th, Koala in 5th. KJXLL in 6th, Trinity 7th, Tiramisu, Ron and Cohen complete the points positions. And then it's latest Simblix, Ares, Rudy, Slimbo, Martin. We've got 4 retirements so far in this race. Of course, the 4th retirement, Shender, is the reason we have this safety car out at the moment. So we'll look at penalties then. Of course, this is bad news for anyone with penalties. I think Tiramisu got a 5-second penalty for speeding in the pit lane just now. But of course, anyone with penalties, this is not good news for you, because this bunches the whole field up, and of course means the chances are the margins are going to be even slimmer when we get to the end. Meaning he doesn't have a penalty, and he's got Dawidek behind him with 6 seconds. So right now, you've got to say, things are looking pretty good for Noof. Dawidek 2nd, Toxic Tomato 3rd. But yeah, Noof's done this pretty well. Ron, I'm still surprised Ron pitted, to be honest, but of course we'll have to see. It could very much work out for him. Martin still yet to catch up to a safety car, so I believe we'll have one more lap of safety car action. And we've got... Is that guy in the pits? That's KJXLL. Okay. He's basically getting shut of those soft tyres that he put on. So that's an interesting move. Surprised Tiramisu hasn't done the same, really. Just basically because, of course, he has that pit lane speeding penalty anyway. But no, just KJXLL getting shut of those softs and putting on the mediums. Not sure about that, to be honest. He might have just been better sticking it with the soft tyres that he had on. He's fallen to the back of the field now. So, interesting strategy from the McLaren driver. And that has lost him an awful lot of track position and moves latest now back into the top 10. This is such a difficult race to call now. You've got so many different strategies out there. The top 4 opting not to pit under the safety car, whereas everyone else has, either for mediums or softs. Well, that helps Ron out. He's gained 1 extra place thanks to that pit stop from the McLaren, back up to 8th place. Everyone is now caught up to a safety car, so expect to see a safety car coming in at the end of this lap. And you've got a feel here that the likes of Dewedek and Toxic Tomato are going to be most under threat here. The only 2 guys that opted to stay out on the hard tyre. Tyres are not going to be feeling particularly great compared to some of those around them. Be interesting to see how they cope on the restart. Particularly as we know, the hard tyres around can take a little while to get up to temperature. So after a safety car restart, you could find the first few corners, those on hard tyres just struggling to get their cars turned in while they get the tyre temps back up again. Safety car is in this lap now, so Noof controls the pace. Everyone left in the race that isn't in a McLaren is in a McLaren sandwich, with Noof leading the way in KJXLL and 16th place. Noof will back this up. I don't expect him to go until we get onto the pit straight, which is still a few corners away. So very much giving a safety car a lot of room here is Noof. And I wonder what that means for the restart. Oh, and we've got a penalty for Cohen. Severe collision with Ron. I'm just going to check as well. Yes, so Ron's got a penalty as well. So that's a bit clumsy under the safety car there. Cohen going into the back of Ron. And both of them getting 5-second penalties. May see that in the stewards potentially look at getting that removed for one or maybe even both of them. But we are back underway, and Noof got an absolutely fantastic launch off a restart. It's DV who's looking like he wants to get past Toxic Tomato as quickly as possible, but there's not enough room by the time he gets into turn 1. But he'll know that his medium tyres should be a lot better at this early stage than the hard tyres around him. So DV looking to make early progress. Of course, no DRS until the 3rd lap. So after the restart, so very much all systems go here. What's happened to Cohen? Cohen's struggling. Oh, Cohen's losing a lot of positions off a restart. Really hasn't had the restart that he would have wanted, all the way down to 13th now, so problems for him. Let's go back with DV, who is going to the outside on Toxic Tomato. Toxic Tomato positions his car beautifully and shuts the door on the Haas car, gives him no option but to back out. So DV just struggling right now to get that position, and this is just allowing Noof, who's already gained over a second, away at the lead of a restart. Dewedek as well, not under too much pressure at the moment, as Toxic Tomato has his mirrors full of Haas. Oh, look at that, going for the inside, is he? No, once again, you've got to say Toxic Tomato positioned his car absolutely perfectly to not allow the Haas any space to get through. You got Koala and Trinity just following in closely behind at the moment. So we're back on the first lap after the restart. You can see just a bit of a queue of cars starting to form behind Toxic Tomato, with DV just struggling to get past him at the moment, not using any of his overtake on the straight, so thinking better of a move just yet. Koala's got a penalty as well. That's going to be absolutely crucial. Slimbo 2, the penalty is going to keep coming in. That's going to, I reckon, massively change the end result of this race, but essentially now I think pretty much a sprint to the end. DV trying to find any sort of line here to unsettle the Red Bull driver, as Latus goes past Ron M in the background. Ron M's race just really not going according to plan. Option to pit under the safety car when he didn't really need to. Might be a decision that comes back to bite him, but we'll wait and see on that one. You almost wonder if DV's lost his opportunity here, because Toxic Tomato now looking a lot more comfortable on those tyres, but DV's still not giving this one up. He's surely going to look for a move here. Let's go on board of him. He's going to go to the inside line. There's contact between the pair of them, and DV bullies his way past Toxic Tomato. There was a bit of contact there, but DV wanted to make sure that the inside line worked for him. And he's got a position done, and Noof has got a penalty. Noof's got a penalty, so that could be all crucial. It's not what he needed right now, but he's got a penalty. Trinity all over the back of Tiramisu, it looks like. Further behind, one Red Bull going backwards a little bit, the other trying to move forwards, and it looks like KGXLL has had some issues at the penultimate turn, and he's dropped even further behind at the back, so things not working out for the other McLaren while the other one leads the way. Oh, I'm looking at Trinity has gone. We've got lost Trinity, who has lost it, and looks like on the exit of the first chicane, turn 2. Trinity. I don't know if it was contact with another car, but it's all gone wrong for last week's race winner, and it looks very unlikely that he's going to repeat that feat now. As Ares has also lost a place. We saw him struggling for pace, and that's way off the road there for Ares. He's got damage. He's got damage on the left-hand side of his front wing, and that explains the problems he's had. Ron M coming back at latest. We've got DV. And look at how DV's passed Wiedek up into second. Ares has got a 10-second penalty for that massive new interpretation of track limits, as he just tried to get out of people's way, I think. But it's DV that takes second place. Noof got a 2-second advantage now, which is going to be all important. Slimbo looking to make his way past Latus as well. So both Aston Martins passing the Mercedes in this one lap. And look at that, Rudy as well. Has Latus got a problem? I'm just wondering, because he's really struggling for grip at this stage of proceedings. And now he's got Symbolix going right around the outside as well. Latus has no answer to these guys, so it looks like he may have some damage on his car. Either way, it's not working out at all for the Mercedes driver, who was on pole position by over 2/10, of course. It's hard to forget, it's hard to remember that now, just based on how his race has gone. But nevertheless, not what he wanted. We've got a retirement in the pits. KJXLL has called it a day. As we go here with Tiramisu looking to make a move on Koala for P5. Action happening all the way through the field as Trinity gets a penalty. And we got Martine now getting past Latus as well. Latus must have some damage to his car, because right now he just doesn't look to be putting up much of a fight against these guys that are overtaking him. Let's go on board with Toxic Tomato just behind Wiedek at the moment. Noof still leading away by over 2 seconds. We've got a yellow flag set to one. That's just KJXLL's car rejoining the track. Toxic Tomato right behind the AlphaTauri. Is he going to be able to look for a way past? Wiedek feeling the need to go slightly defensive here into turn 11, but no way past the AlphaTauri on this occasion. Of course, with the penalty situation here as it stands, I think Toxic Tomato would be your race winner, but we're talking here, what? At the moment, he would get the win by less than 2/10 over Noof, so, you know, it's so tight to call at the moment, but you've got to say the driver in the pound seat right now is Toxic Tomato, but he's verging on the gap that he needs to get that win. So right now, you've got to say Noof and Toxic Tomato would be your two favourites for the race win. Oh, and no, not anymore, because Toxic Tomato has got a penalty, and that's going to cost him dear. Now, the only driver in the top 10 without a penalty is Rudy down in 9th, and he will gain a lot of positions as it stands just because of that one fact. And that puts Noof right back in the pound seat to win this race again, and that was not a particularly strong exit either. And onto the Mr. Straight here. Toxic Tomato is going to be under big threat from Koala. Koala using his overtake, fancying the move, but not going to be able to get it done unless he takes a dive up the inside, which he thinks better of. Oh, if the gap stays under 3 seconds to the leader, Toxic Tomato will be ruining that penalty. He really will. And Koala looking for an adventurous move. That's a gap that was always going to close. And thankfully, no contact between the pair of them. That just wasn't a move that was ever that likely to work, I'm afraid. But Koala looking each way, every way in that, just to try and find a way through. See Tiramisu in the background, and you got the two Aston Martins. They'll be wondering how they've ended up, particularly Ron will be wondering how he's ended up down in 7th towards the back. That doesn't really make any difference to where he is at the moment. We're into the concluding stages here of the French Grand Prix, round 2 of the PSF 4 tier. Of course, next week we go to Spa, which should be fantastic. Cannot wait for that one. But right now, it's all about Noof and looking like he's going to get his first win of the season. It was his fellow TTG driver, Trinity, that took it last week. But the reigning F4 champion, Noof, looks like he's going to get a crucial win to really kickstart his defence of his title. But of course, one more penalty could sway things one way or the other. We really are on a knife edge here. Any penalties, any overtakes that get done could play a pivotal part in how this race finishes. Still looking at Koala. It looks like the driver most likely to make a move. Again, he's got close enough this time. Toxic Tomato sees him coming and gives him enough room to pull it off. Koala's going for it down the inside. Again, Toxic Tomato gives him the room, but again, Koala can't pull off the overtake. Good driving that from Toxic Tomato there, because it would have been easy to just not see the Ferrari coming and shut the door on him. But he managed to both not shut the door on him and also not concede the place. Some really good driving from the Red Bull. Been impressed with his, certainly his defending at times in this race has been utterly superb. You can see DV just starting to come under a bit of pressure from Dewedek as well. Noof looks like he's got this absolutely in the bag in terms of track position, but penalties, of course, he needs to be careful not to pick up any more penalties because that could sway things. But DV just unable really to pull away from this group of cars, and he may start falling into the clutches of these guys behind. Dewedek not showing the lightning speed that we saw last week at Bahrain, but still in and around the sharp end, and that could be all important here. It doesn't look like there's an obvious favourite for this championship, so just constantly getting those strong results could be the key to winning a title here. Of course, there's a long way to go before we have to start really thinking about that. Look at that train all the way down from second down to 12th, second down to 11th now, and that's going to play into the hands of Rudy, who could really gain some handsome positions here. There's a chance here, the way it goes, that Rudy could have a shot to be on the podium here. That's just how much he might gain from this. And Dewedek, Tiramisu, and then the two Aston Martins, they could really lose out here. I wonder if Rudy's going to think because of his lack of penalties at the moment, but he may just think I've got a bit more pace than Slimbo in front of me, and he does indeed go for the move. Down the inside, there's a bit of contact there. There was never really enough space to pull that one off. It was worth a look, but yeah, not to be. He's got barely any ERS to play with as well, and that's going to be a problem. He does want to pull off an overtake. Everyone just sort of caught in this little group of cars right now. And let's go back into the battle then for P2. Tiramisu getting another penalty. That's huge for him. He's now got 11 seconds. He's going to really struggle to pull off a result that he wants there. And worse than that, he's not had a particularly good exit. We've got yellow flag set 2. Koala's gone. Koala has spun, and he's got no front wing. Koala's gone. Huge disaster. Ferrari have got their head in their hands. Mattia Binotto cannot believe what he has seen. Koala's chances of points have gone, and they have gone as quickly as his front wing looks to have gone. I'm not too sure what happened there. It looks like he may have spun into the wall by the looks of things, as we've got DV and Dewedek battling, and it looks like Dewedek's stolen P2 away. But of course has that one extra penalty to think about. Slimbo as well, looking for a move on Tiramisu. Both Aston Martins have made their way past Tiramisu over the last sort of 4 or 5 corners. But it's all gone wrong for Koala, who will not be scoring any points here in his first F4 appearance of the season. More late drama here, and that pushes Rudy up a spot. It pushes everyone up a spot, of course. And Rudy as well, making his way past Tiramisu, who's just starting to lose a lot of positions here. As I don't know if he's got some damage perhaps. I wonder if there was maybe some contact between him and Koala, because it looks like Tiramisu's just starting to struggle a little bit, and would hint towards him having a bit of maybe side pod damage or something like that. And yeah, he's now down to 9th, and he's going to have Martijn also looking to gain a move on him. There you go. Oh, Martijn picks up an extra penalty in the process, so that won't help his cause. Just some crazy things happening in these latter stages. It has to be said, Noof will be wondering what the fuss is about, frankly. And DV looks to try and come back at Dewedek. Latest gets the fastest lap, but it's unlikely he's going to score points, so it's not going to be an extra point for him. Simbalix gets another penalty as well, so no good for him there. Rudy, I genuinely think, looking at the sort of times now, he may just miss out on these 3 guys just, of course, broken away slightly from the guys behind due to the issues that have happened to Tiramisu and Koala. outcome. He's about to start the penultimate lap of this race now. Noof got over a 2-second gap and looking pretty comfortable out front at the moment. Still cannot afford to get an additional penalty though, so he's just got to be wary of that and try and make sure he can just bring it home, and he's got a win in the bag. No, didn't score any points last week, so this will be a welcome relief to the season 28 F4 champion to get off the mark and in the right possible way. Looking further down the field then, Toxic Tomato still right behind this pair. Just mind his own business. He's been very good defensively, but I've not really seen much of him in an attacking sense in this race, so I'll be interested to see if he can maybe change that in the concluding laps as Ron gets another penalty. That's going to be crucial for him as well. That was actually his first corner cutting penalty. His 5 seconds was for something else. And Slimbo has passed his teammate. I wonder if there was maybe some team orders at Aston Martin now, but Slimbo has got less penalties than his colleague, so would be a sensible move from Aston Martin if that was the case. We'll have to wait and see on that one, though, because Ron M looks right behind him and looking like he might want to try and fight back here. But no, he thinks better of it. Dewedek gets another penalty. That's going to be critical for him. He's going to drop down hugely thanks to that penalty now. So Dewedek's chances of a podium are absolutely out of the water now. Too many penalties for him. And he'll be thinking what might have been on that one with the 9 seconds that he's got as Noof just starts the final lap of this French Grand Prix. It's been an intriguing one, that's for sure. Plenty of overtakes, plenty of drama, and never really been sure in these last stages of who's going to get most of the finishing positions. Noof's kind of been the only one who's been pretty safe in the position he's at. We'll see. We'll ride on board with Rudy, who is still not gone. Oh, and Toxic Tomato! Toxic Tomato gets another penalty as well, and that's going to cost him surely. So that, I think that means that Rudy's going to get P3, possibly even P2, by the time we get to the end of this race. Noof's just starting to struggle on his tyres, I suspect, here. Or iBattery's just bringing it home. We're going to give him some airtime. We haven't seen much of him here, but he's done 16 points after not finishing last week in Bahrain. This is exactly the tonic he needed as we really get into the European leg of this season 29 PSGL season. Round this far sector for the final time, then Dewedek closing in on him quite quickly. But it won't make any difference to Noof. Round turn 14 and then 15 for the final time. It's TTG Noof who rounds the final corner to take the win here at Paul Ricard. Super job from the McLaren driver. He wins. And where's it all going to finish up behind him? It looks like, where does Rudy finish? That's what I'm interested to see. Rudy goes up to second. Fantastic stuff. Rudy up to second. DV third. Toxic Tomato fourth. Dewedek drops to fifth. Slimbo sixth. Martine seventh. Ron in eighth. Symbolix in ninth. And Trinity collects the final point in 10th. But Rudy, I thought he would maybe lose out on third place, but he's got it by just under 0.2 of a second. So by staying penalty free, that's worked out brilliantly for the AlphaTauri driver. Not the AlphaTauri driver we've really been noticing as much this race, but just shows sometimes just keep it clean, keep it penalty free, and you gain the rewards. Super job from him. In the end, Toxic Tomato's second penalty actually made no difference to his finishing position, so that's probably a bit of a consolation for him. Dewedek drops to fifth. I thought he might have lost 1 or 2 places more than that, so pretty good damage limitation for him, all things considered. Last week's race winner Trinity gets a point in 10th, but he'll been hoping for so much more. And I tell you what, looking at the way this championship's shaping up, I believe we're going to have so many drivers close together in the championship. I believe it'll be both AlphaTauri drivers of Dewedek and Rudy who will be leading the way on 20 points each, with Trinity on 18. So that's just how close it is after 2 rounds, and it's so tough to call as well. And you got Noof who's going to be on 16, so so much drama that we've had here tonight, and I think we're going to get a lot more over the course of the season. Calling the way this championship's going to go is going to be almost impossible, I suspect. But credit to those guys on the podium today. They'll be absolutely delighted with that, I suspect. So let's quickly get a run of the finishing order. The fast lap went outside the top 10, so no issue in terms of an extra point there or anything like that. Look at that then. So yeah, those are your finishing positions then. And in terms of a driver of the day for me, you can see there we had in the end 6 retirements, I believe. That's right in saying. No, 5 retirements, my apologies. In terms of a driver of the day for me, I'm going to give it to Rudy. I've got to say, staying penalty free, keeping it very, very composed and calm. I think he did a super job, and I think he deserves a lot of credit there, finishing second, because you look around the mid-race distance, he probably wasn't one of those drivers you were thinking was really going to be in the reckoning for a podium finish. So now for me, Rudy gets my driver of the day award. I think you deserve rewarding if you stay penalty free, and he definitely did. So credit to him. And yeah, that is the end of the PSF4 race. I can only once again send my apologies about the fact that this has been done as an upload rather than a live stream. Issues out of my control, unfortunately, and hopefully won't be any issues like that in the future. But yeah, thank you to those that have watched. It's been hugely appreciated. I would usually at this point say be sure to tune into the other Monday races, but the likelihood is this will be uploaded after those. But nevertheless, we're back in terms of PSGL on Wednesday for PC action in the F2 and F3 tiers respectively. So those will be fantastic. Join Dan and Chris for F2 and join Biggles and Scruff for F3. Should be a lot of fun. But from me, that's it. Good night, everybody, and we'll catch you next time.